Hello, my name is Nana Carmen Ashhurst, and I'd like you to join me on an upcoming East-West Connection Joy for Life program on the power of kindness. First, before I begin, please let me say thank you to Ralph Weaver for this opportunity and for his friendship and kindness to me over many years. I met Ralph when he was a college student and he became my intern at the Boston Community Media Council, where I was the executive director. I've been able to watch his career path over the years and have marveled at how he has grown a hobby of collecting art and artifacts first into a boutique business selling high-end gifts to corporate heads, and then into the East-West connection that you all know now. I've also had the joy of watching him become a wonderful man, a kind man. Offering his corporate family these uplifting talks during these difficult times is just one of the many ways that Ralph demonstrates his love for people. He offers countless people support, both friends and strangers, privately and without fanfare. To me, Ralph is a living, walking example of kindness. Thank you, Ralph, for all you have done for me and for all that you do for others. During this time of pandemic, life can be difficult. We feel isolated, broke, frustrated, angry, depressed. In this time, we need to work at finding joy, peace, happiness. I believe a key to finding these things is kindness. The dictionary defines kindness as a type of behavior marked by generosity, consideration, concern for others, without having any expectation of praise or reward. It is the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. When I think of kindness, affection, gentleness, warmth, concern, and care are words that come to my mind. Sometimes it has the connotation of being naive or weak, but this is not the case. To be kind often requires courage and strength. It always requires showing your concern for others and giving something of yourself. We're all familiar with the scripture Matthew 7:12. So in everything, do unto others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. For believers and non-believers alike, this has come to be known as the Golden Rule. It appears toward the end of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is quoting from Leviticus, and theologically, this is thought of as the second great commandment. I think that this makes clear that kindness is a spiritual duty, a spiritual discipline for all human beings. Kindness, like forgiveness, is not about the other person, but it's about you. What do I mean by that? I mean that kindness speaks to who we are, what we stand for, more than it speaks to the nature of the person to whom we show the kindness. And it makes us feel good. Yes, it does. If you are a compassionate person, if you can put yourself in someone else's shoes, you can tell when another person is in need of something. Kindness will lead you to offer something to help that person meet that need. It requires us to be generous with our time, our concern, perhaps our money. It requires us to give up something, but it rewards us with a sense of well-being. The knowledge that we have helped another person makes us feel connected to that person. But just as important, it makes us feel in touch with our own purpose and even with our own power. It puts us in touch with our divine spirit. Kindness comes in many sizes. It can be a little thing. Back when New York had tourists before the pandemic, it was not uncommon to see one in the street or on the subway, obviously lost. Many New Yorkers simply walked past that person, leaving them to their own devices. But many others stopped and offered the stranger directions to where they were trying to go. It's a small thing, stopping to give someone directions, but it changes the course of that person's day. Takes away the sense of worry, makes them think that New Yorkers are nice after all. And what did all that cost you? A bit of your time, that's all. And what do you get out of the encounter? You get a feeling, an inner knowledge that you have done something to make another person's life a bit easier. Recently, a dear friend of mine told me of his experience getting a medical test at a lab. While waiting his turn, a woman entered the lab, obviously distressed, and she asked to take the test her doctor had ordered. The receptionist told her that she couldn't get the test because she had an outstanding bill and would have to pay for this visit as well before she could get help. The woman began to leave, clearly distraught. My friend saw this happening, and seeing this stranger's distress, offered to pay the bill for her. He did not know her, did not know why she didn't or couldn't pay her bill. He just offered this act of kindness because he could. And because he stood up, another man in the waiting room stepped up and offered to help as well. Kindness can be contagious. I think you have to be intentional with your kindness. By that I mean, you need to have in your mind that helping others is a good thing, and then look for opportunities to offer help. During this pandemic, we're feeling a sense of disconnectedness from people as we practice social distancing. But we're actually in touch with more people than we realize. We go to the grocery store and see people there. Can we take a minute to greet the person we pass in the aisle? Do you thank the person that checks you out, packs your food up for you? Our food is getting delivered more. Do you thank the delivery person? Do you ask them how they are doing? These are small things, but they can make the encounter a bit more pleasant for the person who is doing something for you. Providing services for you requires a certain kind of bravery on their part. They must overcome their anxiety about encountering strangers in order to do their jobs. Our kindness requires us to recognize this and to empathize with this person. Maybe in this time of pandemic, you are more generous with your tips. Maybe you simply wish the person a good day or evening. Or maybe you just stop a minute and listen as they tell you how they are doing. But all of this requires that you go about your day with the intent of being kind to others. It must be in your heart. Years ago, I was president of one of the most famous and influential record companies of our time, Def Jam Recordings. I had artists like Public Enemy, LL Cool J, and Slick Rick on my label. Later, when I produced the Def Comedy Jam, we gave a debut platform to such comedians as Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence, Steve Harvey, and Cedric the Entertainer. Between the record company and the television show, we literally changed the face of American pop culture. But by far, the most rewarding aspect of my tenure was the mentoring. I was able to hire young people, mostly Black, who would have a difficult time, if any, getting a job in the major labels. I provided them an opportunity to develop a career they dreamed of, but was unlikely in an industry where most executives hire their friends, or friends of friends, or people with long resumes in the business elsewhere. These young people often thank me for my kindness for hiring them and then mentoring them during their time on my staff. But the greatest reward was and continues to be seeing them move on to other labels and television shows, impacting both the culture as a whole and their personal lives. The reward I receive for my initial act of kindness is so much greater than the risk of offering it to others. I see this same level of intentional kindness in your corporate leader, Ralph Weaver. I'm looking from the outside, and I see a corporate structure that honors the lives and growth of all its employees. I see the care with which employees are being treated during this horrible time of pandemic, which has forced Ralph and every other business leader to make hard decisions. And as I said before, I see the offering of these talks as an act of kindness, helping the East-West Connection family find hope in this time of deep personal anxiety. You'd be surprised at how good it feels when the person to whom you're offering kindness shows they appreciate it. It can be a simple thank you, or it may be even smaller than that, just a smile on their face that wasn't there before. Yet, kindness doesn't expect a reward from the other person. Remember, kindness is about you, your connection with the divine spirit within you. The reward you get may simply be the knowledge that you are acting in your purpose. There is a direct connection between kindness and humility. I don't want you to be kind as a way to feel superior to other people. That's not true kindness. No, it requires that you recognize that you are not inherently better than the other person. That in fact, you are a person in need of kindness from others yourself. Humility recognizes the connection between us and all people. It accepts all of us as brothers and sisters on some level. Kindness, blended with a sense of humility, leads us to give to others freely, without our ego getting into the equation. Again, kindness is as much about you and your motivation as it is about the other person. Kindness requires a level of sensitivity to what others are going through. We must be able to feel and hear other people. At the moment, I am a caregiver to my 88-year-old stepmother. She's a strong woman with a fierce spirit. I've known her most of my life, since I was 10 years old. But she's in a new stage in her life when she knows that she cannot do many things that she used to do. She has to walk with a walker now. Paying her bills used to take her an hour. Now it can take her days or weeks. She used to be able to take the bus, to leave her house and walk to the bus stop in 15 minutes or less. Now, getting ready to leave the house takes several hours. Walking to the bus stop takes 45 minutes. And climbing the stairs to get on the bus can take so long that passengers express their annoyance. All these things lead her to a sense of constant frustration. And underneath it all is a sense of fear. The knowledge that she is near the end of her life, though death could be years away. I have to keep all of this in the back of my mind as I interact with her. Kindness requires it. I have to step back and decide how to help her. My knee-jerk response is to just do the bills for her, for example. But I have to pay attention to her sense of loss of her personal power. It is kinder for me to let her pay her own bills, but just remind her that they are due. I have to put my own sense of frustration on the back burner, not require her to operate on my time schedule. I have to be sensitive to her needs and put them ahead of my own need for control. This does not come easy for me. I'm used to just getting things done. I'm used to just getting up, throwing on some clothes, and running out the door to my car. Slowing down to her speed doesn't come easy to me at all. But my intention is to be kind to her. That's why I'm here in her home. So I have to stop and listen to her feelings to discern what she really needs from me, to discern what is the appropriate help to offer. It's requiring a new level of humility on my part. I have to recognize that I don't have all the answers, that my way is not always the right way for her. My capacity to treat her with kindness says as much about me as it does about her. Kindness requires us to be tolerant. We cannot expect that everyone to whom we offer kindness will be grateful. Sometimes that person is in too much pain or confusion to be able to respond in kind. Can you see that person's pain and provide the kindness in spite of their response? Now, I don't mean to suggest that kindness requires you to accept abuse or to permit yourself to be used. On the contrary, sometimes you have to protect yourself from people who take your kindness for weakness. For example, I met a young woman at church who was raising 3 daughters by herself, living on public assistance. She did not have enough money for a Thanksgiving dinner for her family, so I took her to the store and we bought all that she needed for that dinner. She felt blessed, and it was a joy for me to be that blessing to her. The next day, she called to ask me to pay her phone bill. The day after that, she wanted me to drive her to a friend's house, though I did not live nearby. Soon, she wanted me to buy clothes for her children. After a while, I felt used. My kindness had been taken for a weakness. I had to tell her that I could no longer do all these things for her. Instead, I could help her get connected to social service agencies that could help her get her needs met. Being kind to her did not require me to accept harm to myself. In this case, it required me to hear what she really needed and help her to get it, just not from me. Kindness does not mean that you agree with everything the person to whom you're being kind is, who they are, or what they think. My church runs a food pantry that provides food to needy families in the neighborhood. Most of the people we serve are not members of our church. Many do not even believe in God. But our ministry does not require that the people we serve believe all that we believe. Our ministry requires that we serve the people, period. On a personal level, that grocery store worker that I thank for their help might be a Trumper. Even though Trump is anathema to me, I'm not checking with each service person I thank about how they feel about him before I offer them a kind word. My kindness is based on my recognizing our shared humanity despite our differences. Kindness does not require that we know all the details of a person's situation. If someone asks us for a favor, let them tell you as much about their need as they are comfortable telling you. You don't need to know all of what they are dealing with, just to know if and how you can help. Everyone has a right to their privacy, even people who are indebted to you. Your kindness does not give you the right to pry into their lives or to dictate what they do with your kindness. You are not being kind if you try to take control of the other person's life or situation. Kindness is not a weakness, but also it is not a cudgel. If you use your favor as a way to exercise control over another, you are being a bully. You are not being kind. Kindness is not just something you offer to others. Be kind to yourself. In fact, kindness begins by being kind to yourself. It begins with the personal and then extends corporately. During this time of pandemic, we need to be especially aware of the need for self-kindness. Perhaps you're sleeping more than you should. Perhaps you're not getting dressed every day. Perhaps you've lost your job and you're having trouble paying your rent or other bills. Perhaps you're lonely. Many of us are just going through it these days. Don't beat yourself up about these things. Rather, be kind to yourself and give yourself room to adjust to this new situation. Reach out to others and ask for help when you need it. Talk to a friend. If you are in a real depression, talk to a professional counselor. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Exercise self-care. Take more baths if they relax you. Use this time to do things that you didn't have time to do before the pandemic, like reading more, or gardening, or cleaning out a closet. On the other hand, maybe you don't need to do anything at all. Maybe you need to sleep those extra hours. Wearing pajama bottoms during your Zoom calls isn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe you just need a break from the formalities of office life. During this time, self-reflection and recognition of our needs is especially needed. Treat yourself with kindness as you navigate these murky waters. Included in that self-kindness is offering kindness to others. Like I said, it begins personally, but extends corporately. It feels good to be kind to other people. It really does. You usually will get something in return, like a smile or a thank you, perhaps tears of gratitude. Also included in self-kindness is the ability to accept kindness from others. People may want to help you at this time. Let them. Learn to accept kindness with grace. In my religious tradition, we believe that God works through people. That person who is offering you kindness is actually offering you God's grace. And they are doing God's will in their life, just as you are doing God's will in your life when you offer kindness to another. Do not stop others from blessing you. If you're not a believer, this principle still holds. The universe meets your needs in many ways. Often, these needs are met by your fellow man or human beings. Learn to accept the kindness of others as part of the human continuum. Now, this can be difficult for many people. We don't like to be beholden to others. We don't like feeling like we are being pitied by others. We don't like to admit to others that we have a need, that we don't have it all together, that we need help. These are difficult feelings to overcome, but it will be helpful for each of us to remember that all human beings need other human beings, that this is a basic part of the human condition. Remember that I said that kindness requires us to be humble? That is not just true for offering kindness. It is also true for accepting kindness. It is not a sign of weakness to accept help, just as it is not a sign of weakness to be kind to others. Kindness is what connects all of us. It makes getting through life, or just getting through the day, a more pleasant journey. It makes us instruments of God, or the divine as you know it. It gives us joy. It gives us peace. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. Be kind.